Compassionate Abiding is a guided meditation with Richard Rioch. Richard Rioch is the former media chief of Amnesty International, the human rights organization, and a lifelong campaigner for peace and the environment. His work has taken him to conflict zones around the world. For 12 years, he was the president of Shambhala and now serves as personal envoy of Sakyong Mipam Rinpoche.
Sometimes we get overtaken by incredibly strong emotions. And we're not exactly sure how to handle the surge of energy that arises. And sometimes in the meditation tradition, there's a mistaken assumption that we won't have emotions or we're not supposed to have emotions. So that when we have a strong burst of sadness or anger, then we think, well, I'm making a big spiritual mistake here, or I'm not a good meditator, which quickly leads many people to think I'm not a good person. So it's helpful to know that there is guidance within the meditation tradition on how to work with incredibly strong emotion. Often what we do, as you may know, is that the emotion can feel like a flood, and it just simply carries us away. Well, there's nothing necessarily wrong with that, but there can be situations where it can have quite an unhelpful effect on others, particularly if it's something like anger or rage, which is then expressed as aggression, which can be quite harmful towards others. And then sometimes a strong emotion is so painful or disorienting that we tend to try and shut it down. And I think everybody knows that when we try and do that, then it becomes like an underground fire or current, which will later erupt in our lives in unpredictable and uncontrollable ways. So neither of those strategies is necessarily the best either for us or for others. But there's no point in pretending that we don't have strong feelings. So what is the way that's recommended for working with these? Well, there is guidance which is provided by the great meditation master and Bodhisattva Shantideva in his work, The Way of the Bodhisattva. And in a sense, the instructions are encoded in this very beautiful and poetic text. And we in this era are greatly indebted to Ani Pema Chodron for decoding these instructions and sharing with us. Now, the instructions I'm going to share with you, I have had the great pleasure of having her guidance on, and these are designed for use by the public. So although there may be other practices which are in a sense more esoteric, even if you're receiving this instruction for the first time and you don't have a long history in meditation, is totally fine. And the practice, as Ani Pema has given it to us, is called compassionate abiding. So the compassion is that sense of being with, and the abiding is the sense of being with or riding the strong emotion that we have. So I'm going to tell you the 4 steps of this practice, and then we'll do a little session together. So usually when we have an intense emotion, could be sadness, could be anger, but maybe let's work with anger. It erupts, sometimes like a volcano, and it just sweeps us away. But at some point, we tend to notice that that's happened. Of course, the more mindful we are, the more accomplished we are in our meditation practice, we notice what's arising in our mind and our nervous system, perhaps at an earlier stage. But that doesn't matter here. It's when you do notice that this strong emotion has arisen that you take the first step. And that first step is to locate within your body the place where you feel that that emotion is arising. And usually with any strong emotion, there will be somewhere. It could be in the chest area, could be in the stomach, could be anywhere in the body, the neck, the head, doesn't matter, everybody's different, where you feel some sort of physical correlation to the intensity of the emotional feeling that you're having. So the first step is to notice where that is. You try and find it. You scan your body looking for it. It may be hot, it may be cold, it may change, it doesn't matter. The first step is just to see, where am I experiencing this in my body? The second step is to feel as if we're embracing that part of the body. So it's rather like supposing you had a wounded pet or a small child who's very distressed. And your natural inclination is just to hold them. So what we're doing here is, instead of pushing the pain or the strong sensation away, we're actually holding it and bringing it to us. Obviously, we're doing this in an imaginary way, but no matter how difficult it is, no matter how painful it is, we're just going, yes, I'm embracing you. Then the third step is related to what goes on in the realm of thought. So usually when we have these incredibly strong emotions, our minds sort of run riot, and we have all kinds of things that we're saying. Especially if we're angry to someone, we're making up all kinds of speeches, we're denouncing them, we're thinking of incredibly witty and nasty things to say to them, or we're imagining slamming the door in their face, whatever, but the mind goes into this riot of activity. Now the instruction here is to actually temporarily try to stop that activity. This is different to the instruction in shamatha meditation, where, as you know, the thoughts come and go, we notice them, they pass on, we return to the breath when we have realized that we're thinking. Here, the actual instruction is to stop thinking. And in the Tibetan tradition, the analogy that is used is slapping a pig on its snout. So in come these aggressive thoughts, and you hit the pig on its snout, it goes and goes back. And sometimes this was described as trying to keep the pigs out of the vegetable garden. Quite where this arises in the Tibetan tradition, where, as anybody knows, there really aren't very many vegetable gardens, I'm not sure. But the point is, we want those pigs to clear off, at least temporarily. It's not a nasty slap on the snout, just enough to get those pigs out of the garden. And then the fourth step is, having cleared that little space in the mind, to remain. Remain here means to return to that feeling of holding that sensation in the body. So we're using that place in the body, that sensation in the body, as our object of meditation. And we rest the mind on that. The pigs will come again very rapidly. Tell them to go away. Bring the mind back to the feeling. And the idea here, and this is the compassionate abiding, is to simply rest with that wound, or that pain, or that sadness, or that anger, and just keep coming back to it again and again and again. This is a very, very powerful practice, because, as Annie Pema has said, we're actually training ourselves in reversing our normal karmic pattern. That normal pattern, which is to avoid the sensation, push it away, suppress it, or, in a very unhelpful way, act it out. So it's a fundamental process of changing the kind of inner circuitry of the way we work with these intense emotions. So let's try this together. So it might be a little artificial, because we're just going to call something up, but that's the nature of training. We try it, we learn the technique, and then gradually, as we work with that, we're able to apply it spontaneously in life. So what I'd like to ask you to do is to call to mind something or someone that irritates you. I wouldn't recommend something that drives you completely crazy or that fills you with hatred for the purposes of this exercise. Irritation will be enough. And we probably all have enough to irritate us. So you just think of something that irritates you or some person that irritates you. And you call that person or this phenomenon or that sensation to mind. Now please do that. And maybe nobody's given you this kind of permission before, but you can get worked up about it. Just call it to mind. That person who really gets on your nerves, the piece of equipment that is always breaking down, dreadful circumstances of your life, whatever it is, and feel it. Now, see if there is a place in your body where you're experiencing the sensation of encountering that irritation, even anger. This is step one, locate. For me, sometimes it's in my throat, like a grip, or sometimes it can be, for example, in the eyes. You squint because you feel irritated. Wherever it is for you, rest your mind on that feeling. That's step one, locate. Step two, embrace. So wherever that feeling is, whatever that feeling is, just mentally imagine that you're literally just holding it to you, putting your arms around it. Of course, you do it mentally. We're not so used to doing this, so it's a little awkward in the beginning. Sometimes the pain is stronger than you would like. But you can do it, you just feel it, you're just holding it. That's step two, embrace. Step three, stop. Remember, this is where we slap the pigs on their snouts. Chances are, if you have called to mind this person or this event or this sensation that irritates you, that you already have something to say about it, and you may be already saying that to yourself or to them or about it. Now, just see that. You'll notice that process going on. And right now, just tell those thoughts, stop, 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 stop. And there's a little gap that is created by that little exercise. It's gentle, but it's deliberate. Stop, 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 stop. And that clears the space for the fourth step, remain. Let your mind come back to that feeling that you're embracing. Maybe those thoughts have started up again. Again, just clear the space to allow your mind to rest on that sensation. Maybe the sensation changes. Maybe it's hot and becomes cold. Maybe it's in one part of your body and it moves. Doesn't matter. Just follow it. Rest on it. Be with it. Stop, 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 stop. Remain. Now, if you're feeling that feeling, whatever it is, just let your mind relax. Just let go of it. Let the mind lift from that experience like a wild fowl just taking wing and lifting off a lake. Just let it go. So that is the essential instruction for compassionate abiding. The 4 steps. Locate, embrace, stop, and remain. I like to pronounce that acronym LASER. Could think of it as a sort of laser treatment. When you realize, oh, I am now being swept away by strong emotion. The point is not to get rid of the emotion. It's to learn how to ride it in the most skillful way possible so that it doesn't hurt others and it doesn't damage yourself. And when you do that, two things happen. You change your own karmic patterns. And if you really do this practice and you begin to notice its effect, you'll realize that you can actually influence the karma that you share with other people in your lives. It's a quintessential practice of the Bodhisattva. Thank you.
Nestled in a beautiful mountain valley in the Colorado Rockies, Shambhala Mountain Center has been a destination for individual and societal awakenment for over 40 years. Every season, extraordinary people gather here to take part in a rich variety of retreats. Some come for a day, some for a weekend, a week, or a month, and some stay for decades. Everyone contributes a little something, or perhaps a big something, to this ongoing endeavor of manifesting good human culture, good human experience. It is said that the potency of the teachings, practice, and blessings that have occurred here over the years, from some of the most powerful teachers of our modern era, have processed the energies of the land in such a way that people's hearts and minds become quite available here. Shambhala Mountain Center is also home to the Great Stupa of Dharmakaya, a monument to human kindness and one of the largest and most significant examples of sacred architecture in North America. Thus, a visit to this mountain valley retreat is not only an occasion to slow down and rejuvenate. It is an opportunity for genuine transformation. Awakened heart, inherent goodness, peace, sanity. Rediscover it here. Radiate it everywhere.